Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Where are we? Which, do you know the text?
13 to 18. Sorry, 16.
16? Okay, thank you.
4, chapter 3, 13 to 16.
Okay, here we go, library. What's going
So maybe we can begin with the prayers as we join.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Sorry, I got delayed. I had my husband just called me, so I had to take his call.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we just started saying the prayers.
Okay.
ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नक्षत्रायेषु भद्रेषु भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति।
Thank you for the prayers. Actually, I wanted to ask if everybody is getting the email with the schedule of verses because I'm not getting. Like last week also I did not get. So I just read. We just did 3 verses last week. So I wasn't sure. Like,
Mataji, I am also not getting.
okay.
Okay, and for Antaranga Seva Mataji, maybe they don't have the email address, but I am getting the email.
Okay, so what were the scheduled verses for today?
13 through 16.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I don't see your email, Premarasa.
Yeah,
And
I'm not getting it.
Antaranga Seva Mataji, what is your email ID? If you type it in the chat, I will send it to Mataji.
Okay, so we will read from Canto 4, Chapter 3, text 13 to 16 today. Anyone who has a book would like to read?
I can read. The verse. What verse is it?
This is Canto 4, Chapter 3, text 13.
Hold on. Text 13. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Ruchi Mataji.
Is it this one? Katham Kutaya Pitrageha
Yes, Mataji.
Maya Deva Ningate अनाहुता अपे अभियन्ति सौहृदं बहुत्रार्गुरोर्देह कृताक्षाकेतनम्. Translation. O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. Should I read the next verse or somebody read it?
And Mataji, you can read Mataji. It has no purport, so please read the second one. 14 verse also.
Text 14. तन्मे प्रसीदिदम् अमर्त्यवञ्चितं कर्तुं भवान् करुणिको बतर्हति त्वयामनोहृदे हम अदा भद्रा चक्षुषा निरूपितमनुग्रहान् व्यचितः. Translation. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request. Uh, next verse also. Should I read the next one?
Yes, Mataji, please read. Yeah, 15 verse also.
Uh, एवं गिरितः प्रियाभिषाक्ताः प्रत्याभजन्ताप्रशं सुहृत्प्रिया सम समस्मरितो मर्मभिधा कुवाके क्षण यान आहा को विश्व सृजं समाकृष्टाः. Translation. The great Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailash, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Daksh before the guardians of the universal affairs. Just a second, I have to call somebody and they want to join, so just give me 2 seconds.
Hare Krishna Mataji, is there any chance that you can share the screen with the reading? Because for some reason my it's not connecting to database.
Yeah. Actually, I have the same thing, but I found something else. So let's see if that works.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, purport. When Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Daksha, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly of the guardians of the universe. And remembering those words, he was sorry at heart, although to please his wife he smiled. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a liberated person is always in mental equilibrium in both the distress and the happiness of this material world. Therefore, the question may now be raised why a liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of the words of Daksh. The answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Lord Shiva is Atmaram, or situated in complete self-realization. But because he is the incarnation in charge of the material mode of ignorance, Tamohuna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of the material world. The difference between the pleasure and pain of this material world and that of the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world the effect is qualitatively absolute. Therefore, one may feel sorry in the absolute world, but the manifestation of the so-called pain is always full of bliss. For instance, once Lord Krishna in his childhood was chastised by his mother Yashoda and Lord Krishna cried. But although he shed tears from his eyes, this is not to be considered a reaction of the mode of ignorance, for the incident was full of transcendental pleasure. When Krishna was playing in so many ways, sometimes it appeared that he caused distress to the gopis, but actually such dealings were full of transcendental bliss. That is the difference between the material and spiritual world. The spiritual world, where everything is pure, is pervertedly reflected in the material world. Since everything in the spiritual world is absolute and the spiritual varieties of absent pleasure and pain, there is no perception other than eternal bliss. Whereas in the material world, because everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, there are feelings of pleasure and pain. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although a fully realized person, was in charge of the material mode of ignorance, he felt sorrow.
Thank you, Matichi. Okay, so we have one more words to cover. Um, Anyone would like to read, or I can read?
You can read Primarasa. We don't usually hear from you.
Okay, so this is text 16. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Tvayoditam Shobhanam Eva Shobhane Anahuta Api Abhiyanti Bandhushu Te Yadi Anupadita Doshadrittayo Baliya Sanatmaya Madena Man Yuna. Translation. The great Lord replied, "My dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him." Purport. Lord Shiva could foresee that as soon as Sati reached his father's house, her father Daksha, being too puffed up because of bodily identification, would be angry at her presence. And therefore, and although she was innocent and faultless, he would be mercilessly angry towards her. Lord Shiva warned that since her father was too puffed up by his material possessions, he would be angry and this would be intolerable for her. Therefore, it was better that she does not go. This fact was already experienced by Lord Shiva because although Shiva was faultless, Daksha had cursed him in so many harsh words. Okay, so we are hearing um, the conversation between Lord Shiva and his consort Sati. And yesterday we had this very interesting discussion about um, Sati asking Lord Shiva to go to her father's house because Daksha was performing a sacrifice, and Sati had not gone to Daksha's house for some time. So, because its sacrifice was so huge that all the demigods were flying and dressed in beautiful clothes were going to Daksha's sacrifice. She was also feeling the urge to go to to her father's house and be present for um, the event. So, so she was requesting Lord Shiva, and she was also saying that. So, in all of this, Lord Shiva and Sati were not invited. So she was saying that although we are not invited, still I would like to go because all my relatives will be coming and I would like to go see them. And she says that um, we can always visit a friend's house even though we are not invited. So here, let's see. This is the words. It says, "Oh, yeah. Oh, best of the demigods, how can the body of her daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of a friend, husband, a spiritual master, or father without invitation." So Sati is telling Lord Shiva that although we have not received an invitation for the sacrifice that is happening in my father's house, he's just my father, and there is no harm if we go, although we did not receive an invitation, because actually that's usually the case. Like, even we don't need an invitation when it's just a family event, we would just go. And then she says that similarly one can go to a friend's house, a husband's house, spiritual masters, meeting a spiritual master or father. Like, for meeting all of these we don't need an invitation. So she is requesting Lord Shiva that let us go for that festival or the sacrifice that's happening. And she feels that uh, uh, and because she is a chaste wife, she did not want to go without the permission of her husband. So she is pleading, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. So and then she says that you have accepted me as half your body, therefore please show kindness towards me and accept my request. So the second verse basically speaks about Sati requesting Lord Shiva to accept her request and be kind, for she is his wife. So she's saying that you have accepted me as your wife, so please accept my desire, or fulfill my desire. So that's what Sati says. So in the next verse, um, it is sage Maitreya who is speaking. And then he says that Lord Shiva, when he heard this request from his wife Sati, then he actually smiles. But he, at the same time, he actually remembers those piercing words that Daksha had spoken long time ago. So in the previous chapter, we had heard this part where Daksha actually curses Lord Shiva. So actually, in the I'm sure all of you have been reading consistently, but because I've been missing classes, so for me it's nice when I have to recollect things and then go back a little bit, so that I kind of remember the story better. So in the previous chapter, actually Daksha had actually cursed Lord Shiva, because when he goes to a sacrifice that was happening, everybody else actually stands up and pays respects. And all the other demigods, they pay respects to Daksha. But Lord Brahma and actually Lord Shiva, they both don't pay respects. But Lord Brahma is actually the father of Daksha, so he doesn't mind. He pays respects. But Lord Shiva is actually the son-in-law of Daksha. So what happens is that when he doesn't pay respects, then Daksha gets offended and he curses Shiva. So in this time when his wife was actually speaking, or she's requesting that let us go to her father's house. So the Lord Shiva actually remembers that event, and he feels he's actually remembering all those piercing words that he's cursing. Daksha is cursing Lord Shiva, but he's also smiling his wife because his wife is asking, and he's actually responding to his wife with a smile. So in the purport, actually Prabhupada speaks, and then he says that actually Shiva is he is a pure devotee of the Lord. Therefore, pure devotees actually, they do not get disturbed when it is pleasure or pain. So this is one of the qualities that we always read in scriptures, that pure devotee is always situated in equilibrium. So they are not elated when it is a time of happiness, and they're not saddened when it is a time of distress, but they're always situated in the service of the Lord, so they can actually see or they can actually determine the situation better. Because what happens is that if somebody is in distress, then they cannot think properly, or somebody is in too much happiness also, one cannot think properly because they're overtaken by that emotion. So if we actually see, I'm sure all of us have experienced this, that when we are too much happy, we cannot actually chant our rounds very nicely, because the whole time we are only thinking about the situation of what made us happy, the or going to the future to see how we can enjoy that happiness, or what we will do to enjoy that happiness, and things like that. And at the same time, when one is distressed also, one is overwhelmed by emotions, so they're not really able to do their service well. So the whole time they're consistently thinking about like what caused the distress and how they can overcome the distress and what are the things that they can do. So the mind is actually very active in both of these phases. So it is said that only when one becomes completely pure, then one is able to actually control the mind, and then they're able to take pain and pleasure in the same way. So that what happens is that their focus is not so much on the external circumstance, but their focus is more on the service of the Lord. Like, how can I serve my Lord in every circumstance? Actually, when I was reading this, I was thinking about this COVID situation, where everybody is in so much of distress and everybody was in so much of panic for, nobody can go outside, nobody can meet anybody, everybody are stranded in their own homes. And it's actually, if we think about, it's a very difficult situation, because the human beings are very social. They have friends and they always want to go and meet them, share their feelings, talk to them and socialize. But if people are actually put in their homes without any association, it's actually a very distressful condition for them. But even in those conditions, the devotees of the Lord, especially like if we see our spiritual masters, all of them, they were not disturbed no matter what was going on with the external situation. For them, it was service to the Lord. They continued to preach no matter what was going outside. Actually, that was like for me personally, I was very awestruck to see how like nothing influenced them. Their absorption was always in the topics of Krishna. Their absorption was always, how can I serve Krishna even in this very circumstance? Um, Actually, there is a group that's called NESLT. So it's basically like a North America Sankirtan something. I think it's called. Um, I can't remember the full form, but so basically there is a group, and if we see in that group, like every day people are actually distributing thousands of books of Srila Prabhupada, even in this situation, risking their lives. Actually, just last week, I think we read a message that there was this devotee who actually went to distribute books, and he was actually I think he was stabbed in his leg several times, and then he had to go to the hospital because when he was distributing books, I think some mob attacked him or something happened. So if we see in all of these, then it's the mode of service that is like a devotee is always meditating upon, like even if it means to risk my life, how can I actually please the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So here in this verse also, like it is said that um, so in the purport, Prabhupada is asking this question that the question may now be raised, why a liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of the words of Daksha. So actually, if we see in the previous chapter, although Daksha curses Lord Shiva, but Shiva was not disturbed. His associate Nandi was actually cursing Daksha back, but Shiva was silent. He was not disturbed. So here it is said that although like he is a personality of God, sorry, what is he's a uh, like a pure devotee, then the question is raised that why was he unhappy with the words of Daksha? And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he's commenting or he's replying for that question and saying that although he is Atma Rama, but because he's an incarnation in charge of the mode of ignorance, tamoguna, he's sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of the material world. So then he says that actually Lord Shiva, he's actually doing this service for Lord Krishna, that he's serving as an in charge for the mode of ignorance. So here it is said that sometimes it might happen that he is also affected by the mode of ignorance. So we will read further, and then I will wait as other devotees can correct me on this. So I'm not like super clear on this topic. So, and then there is a relative, or I'll say it's more like a comparison that's given between the spiritual and the material pains and pleasure. Because if we see in the spiritual world, like everything is absolute, it means that although for us it may seem that Krishna, in separation, the gopis are actually feeling a lot of pain because of the separation from Krishna, or even Mother Yashoda. Like sometimes she is chastising Krishna, but in all of these circumstances, the goal is always to please the Lord. And that is the difference between the material pains and pleasures and the spiritual pains and pleasures. So in the spiritual world, everything is dedicated to the service of the Lord. Like even if it means to correct Krishna, Mother Yashoda is doing for the pleasure of Lord, because Krishna actually likes when Mother Yashoda chastises him. He really likes it when Mother Yashoda corrects him and says that, do this. So that's a very special rasa that he has, and he finds pleasure in it. So that is the reason Prabhupada actually says here that in the spiritual world, although for us it may seem like somebody is going through a lot of sorrow, but in reality, that rasa is very intense and is very pleasurable to the Lord, and that is the reason they have such pastimes. Actually, I was remembering that last year we went to this Ayodhya Yatra, and then we were all listening to the class of Ramayana. Actually, in Ramayana there is so much of sorrow, there is so much of sorrow, like in every step, Lord Ram had to go to the forest, and the different hardships he had to go through, and like it's very difficult actually for a person to actually read the Ramayana. At least for me, I always felt like that even to read Ramayana, like there's so much sorrow that is felt. But in all of that, if we actually see, that's actually um, the whole pastime actually took place in such a way that it actually gives us all like an example, that despite all of that, how can one be in service to the Lord? Like how can one how can one turn one's life or be dutiful, so that we can actually serve the Lord nicely, no matter whatever circumstance that might be. So that's what is like that's the comparison that's being made here. And then in text 16, um, Shiva is replying to Sati, and then he says that, my dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of his bodily identification. So actually, Daksha was very puffed up. So he was so puffed up that he was not even recognizing the position of Lord Shiva. So he says that um, don't go to your, I mean, he doesn't say directly that don't go, but he says that although you're saying that without invitation we can go to the house of a father or a friend or a spiritual master or husband, but if that person is in a friendly relationship with us, then we don't need any invitation, we can just go and then visit them. But then in this case, actually Daksha and Lord Shiva, they did not have a good relationship. They both had a like like a rocky kind of a relationship. So he was hesitant for his wife to go. So, and then he says that he could foresee and he could tell that even if Sati went, even if she went to her father's house, he knew that she will be disrespected. So so he says that therefore it was better that she did not go. So Lord Shiva is actually saying that to um, not be disrespected, it is better that we don't go. Because the fact was already experienced by Lord Shiva, because although Lord Shiva was faultless, Daksha had cursed him in so many harsh words. So he was not just saying it um, just like that, but Lord Shiva was actually speaking from experience of what had happened previously. Like, although Lord Shiva had no fault, but even without fault, Daksha had actually cursed him. And he feels that um, he's expressing that even for Sati, if she went to her father's house without an invitation, then Daksha would disrespect her. Actually, like sometimes I mean, as we read further, we will see that actually Sati eventually goes to the sacrifice of Daksha. Um, but if we see, like, one may think that why didn't Lord Shiva stop her to not from going? So sometimes it just feels like even like in senior devotees, like if sometimes the senior devotees might see us actually going through some things which are not appropriate for us, or like a mother, like in the previous verse, like Prabhupada is saying, like a mother might see a child actually not doing something which is beneficial for him, but sometimes the mother doesn't or cannot really stop the child. She can probably say that, this is not good for you or something like that, or senior devotees may just sometimes tell us that, this is not what you should be doing. But sometimes the junior devotees, they just want to do it no matter what. They just want to do it, and then at that time um, it is like left to the discretion of the junior devotees, or the new devotees, so that okay, they learn by their own experience. Like sometimes this is, even Prabhupada speaks about this, like first class intelligence, second class intelligence, third class intelligence. So the intelligence of a devotee lies in the disciplic succession, like what they hear and then what they see, and how they learn from senior devotees. Because if we want to do something, or we were told to do that this is not good for you, but we still want to do it, then basically the responsibility lies on ourselves. Means basically it's like, we are not intelligent enough to foresee the future and understand like why something is being told to us. And the wisdom of a devotee, or the humility of a devotee, is to actually see and understand what somebody who is senior to us is actually telling us, something that is going to benefit our spiritual journey. So I will stop here, and then I will see as more devotees want to share more about these verses. Oh, Hare Krishna, Dheera Shanta Mataji. I did not know you joined also. It's nice to see you after a long time.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept mine too, Mataji. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. How are you,
Thank you.
Mataji?
Good Mataji, thank you. Thank you for beautiful class, Mataji.
Thank you for
And
joining,
beautiful
Mataji.
explanation.
Thank you.
And Mataji, I have question, for the ghee weeks.
Yeah.
I need the sample.
Okay,
In
Mataji.
the
I will.
temple?
Yeah.
Temple?
Yeah. Yes,
Temple?
Mataji. In temple, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mataji, I will also share one video with you, okay? Or how to make it, so you can share with your group.
Okay, so my group, so they 4 or 5 people, they are ready to
Okay,
do the service.
perfect.
So
Sure. Definitely, Mataji.
yeah,
I
so
will
you
share
could,
with
like you say, you could send it to me, and tomorrow
you.
I'm going to the temple. So
Okay.
I'm gonna get the sample from temple too. Then
Sure. Yes, Mataji.
is
Sure.
that the with the ghee or without ghee? Is there without ghee?
Without, I don't know, Mataji. I will see. I will send you one. Okay.
Okay, are you coming? Yeah, so so tomorrow
Yeah.
you send me. Okay, Mataji, maybe
Yes. Yes.
5, 6, 5, 6, because I'm gonna drop everybody one
Okay.
one.
Okay, Mataji. Sure. Okay, so anyone
Okay,
with
thank you.
any comments on these verses? If not, then we can end early today. And then we can continue again tomorrow. Actually, I was trying to hear different classes today to see about the discussion from yesterday, but actually I couldn't find anything that kind of gave more clarity than what we had from yesterday's class about Sati. So I will try and see if we can get more information, but I couldn't find anything. Okay, then we will end here for today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad
Yeah.
Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you
Yeah.
all very much for
Thank
joining.
you all. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.